Hey everybody, welcome back to We Are the Batman. I'm Mike.
And this is Matthew.
We haven't done one of these in a very long time. It's time for a Nerd News Roundup.
Let's do it.
And before we get into that, first of all, I was saying thank you to everybody who checked out the Scott Beatty interview we did. That was a lot of fun. We are recording this. It is currently 11:30 a.m. on the East Coast on Friday, September 13th. Happy Friday the 13th, everybody, to try and be as up to date as possible for you guys. Before we get into all that, Matt, did you know that 55% of the people that watch our YouTube videos aren't subscribed?
I mean, I think that sounds normal because people just come across stuff, but
subscribe. Like this is the bad signal for telling you to subscribe. Have you seen me putting this in the videos lately?
I have, yes.
Yeah. I finally was like, wait, why am I not just overlaying that into StreamYard? And this is my weekly moment of pissing off the audio only listeners because they can't see any of this. There's a cool bat signal telling people to subscribe happening on the screen, everybody. So that's what we're telling you. So let's have some fun before we get into the heavy stuff. I found this image yesterday. I can't remember if I sent it to you. I know I shared it on our Facebook page, but I wanted to show you this picture because it's super cool. And
okay, let me see.
I knew it was up your alley and mine, but
yes.
Yeah, again, this is just me pissing off the audio listeners, but it's the shot of go check out the YouTube channel. It's a shot of the Batman from the movie walking from the Batmobile with the flame in the background, and it's been reanimated with the Batman from the 2004 cartoon show.
With his car in the background.
Yeah.
The second version of his car that he made after the dude stole it. Dude, I was thinking about this the other day. This just popped in my head. I had both of those cars. I bought them for my son from Goodwill and stupidly gave them away because he wasn't playing with them. And now I'm like, God dog it, I wish I would have kept them.
God, you could have given those to me.
I know. Cool vehicles. Such cool vehicles.
Very cool. Wanted to show that to you because I thought that was pretty cool.
I think I sent this to you talking about pictures.
Yeah.
Did you see that drawing? I think it's Dan Mora drew of the Absolute Batman.
Yeah. It's a good drawing. It looks so much better than whatever the hell's going on right now.
Yeah, wow. It was dude, I like that guy's art anyway, but he made that suit look like, oh, that looks awesome.
He made it look like a person. He made it look like a human being. By the way, guys, we're going to do a full deep dive into, I know this is our full nerd news roundup and all that. We're going to do a full deep dive into DC Absolute in October after it's had some time to be out and we can actually look into it because it's a lot. And it's something that deserves its own episode. So we're not going to cover that a whole lot today. We'll talk about that in a few weeks. But suffice to say, you want our thoughts on the current look of things? Not a fan of Batman.
It's weird. And the things I've heard, anyway, I'm just hoping the stories are cool. So, that is anytime you bring the Batman cartoon into the fold, I'm always excited because, look, if you've been listening, I love that cartoon. It's awesome.
It really is. I mean, I have my gripes with it, but I'm a nitpicky snob, so that's just more of a me issue. Let's do something we haven't done in a little bit with you because we don't get to do these very often, Matt. Which is how you doing, bud?
I'm doing good, man. I'm rocking and rolling. I mean, not to be weird, but I've been hitting the gym again. I gave myself tennis elbow back in April, May, doing pull downs too heavy.
Tennis elbow is the most
I know
it's the most basic freaking medical condition you can give yourself. It's you played the whitest sport known to mankind and made your elbow owie.
Well, and it was also too when you've done something wrong when your dad gets mad at you and you're an adult, because he was sounds like you haven't been warming up properly. And I was like, he's totally right. I was not warming up. I just sit there and start chucking weight.
I know.
So then that healed. Then I'm at the age now where I get to hurt myself sleeping.
Oh yeah. Isn't it fun? Oh, I hit that age a while back. Yeah.
So it was funny because I was watching the video for our toys and I pick up that Batman. And I remember that day going, yeah, let me do this. And realizing, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pick this up because I jacked my shoulder up so bad.
Oh, no.
All of that is healed. I've been going back. I'm 3 weeks in. It's been nice. So, yay me. But other than that, kids are doing well. My son's loving his new school. My other girl, my baby is having fun doing all that. College kids doing well. My oldest is about to wrap up cosmetology school, and she is stoked for what she's doing. So cool. What about you? You got family visiting and stuff, correct?
Yeah, my grandma's been in town for a couple of weeks, which it has its ups and downs. Listen, I love my grandma with all my heart, and there is a bigger story as to why she does this that I won't go into. Suffice to say that her being here has meant that every waking moment in my living room at a whopping 90,000 decibels has either been MLB baseball or Fox News. And so sitting up, going upstairs and walking through my living room has been a bit of a minefield, as you can imagine, given everything that's transpired in recent weeks. From a news standpoint, and that's where we're going to leave that. But it's been fun. We went to a blues show. There's this big outdoor pavilion downtown Dayton, does like free concerts. They had a blues show last night.
A blues show. I thought you said a bluey show. I was like, I know you were getting into the show, but it's
not so much that I'm getting into the show. Is there's these reactors on YouTube I enjoy previewed, who one of the guys just became a dad for the first time, and so to kind of like pad their calendar a little bit when they didn't have a lot of content coming out, they started like binging Bluey 4 episodes at a time because he's a new dad and his son's too young for it. But I guess a lot of their fans were like, it's got a lot of great stuff for parents in it too. And for me, it's become one of those things where, and I say this as a fan of this stuff, because a lot of the content I ingest lately is on the more serious side, whether it's The Boys, the Penguins getting ready to come out, stuff like that, Ahsoka, all of that, having something I can get into that is just kind of generically lighthearted and wholesome is really refreshing. And I'm not a parent. I don't really have any desire to be a parent, but like Bluey really does seem to have a little something for everybody. And like watching these guys watch the show and have like realizations about things they did when they were kids, and having me go, oh, I did the same shit. Oh, wow, I owe people apologies, like that kind of thing. So no, it was that's a long way of saying no. We went to a blues show. Have had a lot of comedy going on. I got 2 more big shows booked at the end of this month. Like I've had a busy summer, dude. I mean, holy crap. So, and that's from a professional, like from a work standpoint, like now that's calming down. But as we're about to start talking about, like you and I are about to get into our busy season because stuff's about to start happening in the DC camp.
Oh yeah.
And it almost, and I wasn't really sure, again, it's now 12:45 and I don't know what our headline for this episode is going to be. I thought I did. I really did. And then like, even as late as like 11 o'clock last night, stuff was coming out from interviews that like Matt Reeves was giving. And it's like, okay, well, I was gonna, because again, full disclosure, I got my brand new James Gunn Superman t-shirt from Hot Topic, came in the mail over the weekend, and I was gonna wear it today with my red button down and look like Superman. And then and then I guess our good friend James Gunn, a longtime fan and supporter of the show, went to his buddy Matt Reeves and said, hey man, I love this show, We Are the Batman. They're a great show that was inspired by your movie. They're about to do a news roundup recording tomorrow. I have the inside info on it. That's how big of a fan of their podcast I am, because I'm James Gunn.
It's totally tracks.
I think you, Matt Reeves, should listen to their show, become a huge fan, and also let's release some interview stuff. Let's do an interview releasing some info for them to have some news to talk about on their Batman podcast on Friday, because that's got to be what happened, because we got some good stuff.
I think that's spot on. That I think you were there.
It's like I was a fly on the wall. So we're going to talk about that later. We're going to start off with, I wanted to go ahead and pull this, because this was going to be our headline story of the day. I want to go ahead and pull this picture up here. But we're again, for the folks listening, we're going to talk about it obviously, but James Gunn posted on Threads a couple days ago that October 19th at New York Comic-Con, as we were kind of figuring was going to happen, Creature Commandos is going to have a great big presentation with Frank Grillo, David Harbour, Zoe Chow, Sean Gunn, Dean Lorey, Steve Agee for a Creature Commandos panel. They will fill us in on all the details and also more on the seeds of the DCU. So I have a feeling we're going to be getting like some more info on the DCU slate. I think James Gunn is about to walk out with and just, pardon the expression, but just unzip and plop it on the table and say, here it is.
Yeah. No, I think you're right, because he did say post that first video like a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, I only announced less than 50% of the things we have planned.
I think it was even 20. I think it was even like less than 25. I think he said it was like so little of what he had planned.
So I think you're right. Now that they've distanced themselves from the DCEU by almost a year.
Yeah.
Now that you're okay, this is our first thing out of the gate. Let's give them more information. So, because like, correct me if I'm wrong, he didn't give like a dates and times of how long those projects he announced were coming. He just said this is the sequence they're coming.
He didn't even give that. He just gave properties. He just said, here's a random assortment of titles that we have enough pen to paper to say are coming now. Like, these are the things we have enough contracts in place for me to say are happening.
Yeah.
You know, and we're going to talk about one of those projects a little bit later today in a little bit here. But yeah, I think this is going to be James Gunn's first Comic-Con appearance as head of DC, like in person. He was at San Diego through a video because they were still working on Superman and Peacemaker at the time.
Yeah.
But by the time, you know, he is not as hands-on with Peacemaker from a directorial perspective, because he's not directing every episode. He's only directing a few, and I think he's already done his. So it stands to reason that, like, in lieu of a DC fandom in October, DC's making their splash at New York Comic-Con.
I think it's perfect. I mean, it's I mean, not saying it's time, but like I said, I think the whole thing is we haven't got anything from the DCEU since December of 2023. You're almost a year away. It's clear none of this is connected anymore. So I think it's a good time now to I think that's probably why they didn't do it over the summer that much. It's like, hey, let's do it here now. So all right, so what's the first bit of go ahead.
Well, we got some more about Creature Commandos too, because to go on from that, he then went on to confirm that the official release date is December 5th. So on Max. We didn't have a date before. This is going straight to Max. So this is not like The Penguin, which is going to be going to HBO and on Max, a la House of the Dragon and Last Week Tonight. Creature Commandos is going to be exclusively on Max.
Okay, cool.
But now we have an actual date for it, which is great, and we will look forward to that as we get closer. So the last thing I wanted to get into with this, James Gunn was talking to Entertainment Weekly for their fall TV issue, and gave some insight. I'm going to put this up here on the screen. Gave some insight as to how Creature Commandos launches the DCU, because people have been, it's been a little confusing. It's like Superman is the launch of it, but Creature Commandos comes out first. And the way he basically described it is, the thing I've always loved about DC Comics was that you had your mainstream comics that always ran, but they also had these tonally different comics like Watchmen, The Dark Knight Returns, and All-Star Superman. It was different from Marvel in that way. That's something I really want to retain within the studio, that every project is going to bring different vision by the artists who are creating it. He goes on to say, I am used to dealing with oddballs and irregular types and weirdos. That's what Guardians of the Galaxy is, and Creature Commandos is kind of like Guardians without the sentimentality. The Guardians are really good characters at the heart, and that just isn't necessarily the case with these creatures. So it's like we're getting Guardians of the Galaxy without as much of the likability. It seems it's more of like, these are, you know, we remember from that original Guardians of the Galaxy trailer when Peter Sinaferowicz says like what a bunch of a-holes. And it's like, no, these guys are, the Creature Commandos are genuinely assholes.
Yeah.
These are, you know, DC's version of being the best at what they do, and what they do isn't very nice, you know. How do you feel about all this?
Huh?
How do you feel about all this?
I'm excited about it. Like, it's Creature Commandos is one of those things I have zero knowledge of.
Yeah.
So it's always fun to kind of be introduced to something I'm not aware of. The stack, you know, we've talked before the cast is stacked, but I think that this, I mean, look, if it's the launch, but it's the animated launch, which means, let's be honest, 70% of the people out there are not going to bother with it.
Mm-hmm.
So you could still say Superman Legacy, your first live action movie, is the launch of the DCU, because that's what most people are going to pay attention to. You know, people just don't watch animation unless it's Pixar, Disney. You know, most of those animated movies, they do okay. The animated series, like, you know, who knows? So that's why I think, I think that it's a good way to kind of, the people like us who are following every single bit of all fandom are like, okay, this is the first thing. I'm excited. This is going to be cool. But most of the people out there just are not going to do it. So
I feel like this is going to be his thesis statement for why we should trust him with DC.
Yeah.
It's like, this is how deftly I can handle these bullshit characters. Ultimately, I don't mean that like these characters don't matter, but like, these are throwaway characters no one's ever heard of. The mainstream audience hasn't heard of.
Yeah.
He did the same thing with Guardians of the Galaxy. He did the same thing with the Suicide Squad. He's like, watch me take these characters you know nothing about and make you absolutely fall the fuck in love with them.
Yeah.
And so this is his moment. Like Creature Commandos, but I will say the pressure's on. It has to land. It's got to land. You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily have to be like the next big smash takeaway hit of the world, but this needs to at least land with DC fans. Superman's the thing that needs to land with the mainstream wide audience. Creature Commandos needs to make DC fans happy.
Well, and the thing too is, like, even like, not to be weird, even a bad Superman movie is going to make you money. So it's not as much of a risk. Creature Commandos is a risk. And again, like, you hopefully nobody knows anything about it, so they'll just love whatever you do. But no, I think it'd be cool.
Creature Commandos is right now. Creature Commandos is betting on James Gunn's reputation alone, is what it really comes down to. They are betting solely on James Gunn's reputation for Creature Commandos. And this is their moment to see whether or not it's going to make or break. Now, something I will say is to keep in mind, and we've said this several times on this show, is that we have to remember that raw views can't be the only way that we measure success of a property anymore. Yeah. Because it's just not that simple. Running a YouTube channel alone proves it's not that simple with the kinds of analytics and things. Yet again, like we mentioned, the fact that 55 people aren't subscribed. 55% of people who watch our show aren't subscribed. Look how I did that. I worked it in already. But like, those are the kind of things that they have to be able to pay attention to. We talked about that with box office too. Box office can't be your only metric anymore. So I'll be really curious to see what James Gunn has to say in the time after Creature Commandos has finished, to see how he and Peter Safran determine whether or not it was a success to them. You know what I mean? Seth MacFarlane said a lot of thing about the Orville with season 3. He said whether or not there's a season 4 is dependent on a lot of different things, not just how many people watched it. And that's why it's hit or miss if we're going to get a season 4 of the Orville. Please, guys, come on. Seriously. Anyway, let's do a little bit more dancing around in the DCU. Let's talk a little bit of casting stuff. So there were some rumors going around that Josh Brolin was one of the names being looked at for the role of Hal Jordan for Lanterns. The current rumor, and we usually don't delve too much into rumors, because this seems to jive a lot with what we've been hearing consistently enough. But the report was that, like, basically Lanterns is going to be, grizzled vet Hal Jordan training rookie newbie John Stewart, and they were looking at Josh Brolin to be Hal Jordan. But reports are coming out now from the Hollywood Reporter saying that he has now passed on it.
Okay.
which is fine. I think one of us picked him in one of our early episodes, casting a Green Lantern for something. I know it wasn't our DCU phase 1 because I picked Nathan Fillion, but I think one of us picked him for like some kind of DCU casting. But anyway, I mean, like I was into it. It wasn't my first pick, but I was into it.
Look, Josh Brolin's one of those actors. I think he's always good. Like that, even that Outer Range, I forgot what that show was called. It was the show that like seemed like it'd be really interesting, and it just wasn't. So I haven't watched the second season, but he was really good at it. He's always really good at it. And the only thing for me personally, thinking about him being cast as Green Lantern, and maybe it's just because of how some of the stuff he's done over the last several years, is like that just to me leans into he's going to become Parallax. Like the villain version of Green Lantern that he comes at the end where he steals everybody's ring.
No, I know. I saw the Ryan Reynolds movie.
But
trust me, I know who Parallax is.
but yeah, so I think if that's the story you're going, I think he's the perfect guy to make that transition.
I don't know if they would go Parallax. I'm going to be honest. And the main reason is because I think this is the first Green Lantern thing you're doing since the movie. You don't want to have anyone associate you too closely with that movie.
Well, I just mean more like part of that story is that he ends up killing all the lanterns themselves and taking their rings and becomes the villain.
Oh, okay.
In that storyline, and Parallax is part. I can't remember.
I thought you were talking about like for lanterns. I was like, I hope that's not the direction they're going.
No, I just mean more like you could see him become like the nice, cocky, cool older guy who then eventually goes villain and becomes a villain of maybe the second season or some of the movies later. That was all I thought of the first time they said Josh Brolin. I was like, oh, I guess maybe that's what they're doing, because similar to Batman, like you're definitely coming into the storyline with he has been Green Lantern for a while.
Yeah.
And that is what happened in the comics, is that after he kind of loses his mind and does crazy stuff, but eventually brings back Green Arrow. But let's not get into that right now.
Well, again, we know that this is a DCU where Guy Gardner exists and is operating with what appears to be the Terrifics based on the Superman set photos. So who's to say? The last thing I wanted to bring up, because it is DCU related and it's just too good not to bring up. And so a while back, and I mentioned this a little bit ago, but we did an episode a while back, truly a while back. I'm going to insert a clip of it here, talking about MCU actors we'd like to see in James Gunn's DCU. This is
I think we even did Streamlight. It was the Guardians cast.
We may have kept it to Guardians cast. Yeah.
Yes.
And one of the ones I pitched, now everybody knows that like my OG pick for Hugo Strange in the Batman would be Peter Dinklage. But I pitched in that episode, and this is where I'm going to insert the clip, is what about Dave Bautista as Hugo Strange? The one that I think people are going to think is out of my mind, but the more I think about it, the more I love it, is Dave Bautista as Hugo Strange. And I've pitched this to so many people, and they all told me I was insane. Well, here's the thing. I made a social media image for this ages ago that has suddenly, because of Dave's recent appearance on a talk show, started making its rounds again. And I'm going to put that up on the screen right now. And I can't prove I made this originally. I'm not going to make a big stink about it, but this is obviously a different red carpet picture than I used last time, but it was like, I said Dave Bautista for Hugo Strange. Now those rumors are starting to circulate. Why those rumors are starting to circulate, I don't know, because we don't know anything about his Batman movie yet. So maybe he's being considered for the Batman, in which case, not mad at it.
Well, and he has, look, I don't know if you've seen him. I mean, these pictures, you can tell he has lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And he says it was for health reasons. And I can't remember the other thing.
He's not a young man. Maintaining that much muscle mass is really difficult.
Is it though?
Yes.
And I don't mean it in a dismissing the thing.
I mean, first we have to think about the amount of calories that you have to ingest on any given day to maintain that kind of muscle mass and still have the energy to move. Is like, that's a lot. I mean, there's a reason why, like when Jared Leto talks about, like, you know, nuking Haagen-Dazs and ingesting the calories, it's like, yeah, if he had also been wildly increasing his workout routine, he would have been on his way to bulking up like it looked like Dave Bautista, you know. But it's the same reason that, like, Triple H had to retire. It's like, yeah, doing that to your body constantly, or why Hugh Jackman wants to retire. It's why Tobey Maguire almost didn't come back for Spider-Man 2. Like, putting on that much muscle and tone like that all the time is a lot, and he's not in a position where he has to anymore.
Correct. I was thinking about this the other day. It's very convenient that suddenly, after he has completed his commitments to the MCU, and now we're up in the air about what future stuff is coming out from DC, that he suddenly decides, after decades of living his life this way, you know what? I'm going to lean out.
Well, I think it could be a mix of both. I think there's room for both to be true, because if you look at everything he's been doing up until now, it was MCU and then Glass Onion, where he was playing a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Now he no longer, and he had all these other roles where he was still playing like these, like, now he no longer has a commitment to do that. He's not in Dune anymore. He is, spoiler alert for Dune 2, he dies. Like, he's not in that position anymore. So it could be a combination of, like, hey, I want to get to once I no longer have to do this anymore for my own health down the line, I want to stop doing this. And then also, from an acting standpoint, that opens you up to other realms, because part of the problem with The Rock is that he keeps getting cast in all these different roles, but then they have to rewrite the roles to justify why this character is built like a brick shithouse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like why is this, like they have to come up with a reason for why this, you know, socially awkward animal handler is 400 pounds of straight muscle. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking about the movie Rampage. Fantastic movie, very underrated. But that's it, you know, it's hard to work around that. That's why, like, in Peacemaker, it works with John Cena, because you can play that for a laugh tonally. The Rock doesn't like to laugh at himself usually, except for something like Jumanji, where he's still not really laughing at himself, he's still playing himself. Bautista has shown time and time again that he's willing to do the work and put in the effort to gain the acting chops, and helping yourself not get typecast by saying, hey guys, the bulk's off the table now.
Yeah.
So stop typecasting me for wrestling types and let me play Hugo Strange, like my very good friend Mike Shea wanted me to do on his podcast. Yeah, because we're friends with everybody in DC and Marvel. I don't know if
you're closer than I am. No,
I am. You have a lot of ins with Jim Lee up at the higher ups at DC Comics. These are all completely factual things that are 100% true, and anybody who questions us is a hater. So I think that's a good enough of a bridge to loop us into the Batman Matt Reeves camp side of things.
Let's do it.
Before we do that, one last just a couple more non-Matt Reeves Batman stuff. Batman Cape Crusader season 2 has officially kicked off production.
Nice.
Because Michelle C. Bonilla, who I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, who was the showrunner for the show, or was the voice, was the voice of Renee Montoya. I got the names mixed up. Got her scripts. She shared a picture on Instagram of them doing table reads for season 2 with the names with lots of things blacked out so you can't see because redacted. And pictures of her in the recording booth. So they are, season 2 is coming.
How far along do you think they actually are?
I think if they are already laying down VO, They are so far into production. They are ready. I think we will see this. I think we'll see season 2 by this time, by summer next year. I think like August next year, we'll see season 2.
Yeah. I'm wondering if it's something like, what was it? Superman. What is that called?
My Adventure with Superman.
There, where it was like, they ordered 2 seasons.
They ordered 2 seasons, and I think season 1 was such a smash hit with fans that they were like, "Yeah, do it now, do it now. You guys ready to do it now? Let's do it now. I think we should do it now."
I'm curious, and there's no way we'd ever find out.
Yeah.
Is they do the first season, they're in mid-production of the second season, where DC does that whole, no, we're not going to put it on Max. Go find another home. Well, they find another home. Hold on, they find another home, and now we've got the new home. Let's finish the second season.
Oh, I think it's 1,000% what happened. Is again, we've said from before, like they just didn't want to front the money for this thing. That's why that's why they get J.J. Abrams involved and they get Prime Video involved, is they were like, we can't afford to take the risk on this, so somebody else write the check and air it.
Yeah.
But also, I think when you look at the caliber of actor they were getting for the voices, Prime's the way to go. But I don't think it'll be long before this gets folded in over on Max, once the show is done, or they get at least the first 2 seasons out. I wouldn't be shocked if it moves over to Max. I don't know what we don't know what their contract is with Prime. So so that's coming. And again, it was such a smash hit with fans. It would not be shocked to me if they were like, yeah, let's just go ahead and just knock this out now. We were going to wait. Let's just go ahead and do it. And then DC Comics has revealed info for Batman Day, which is coming September 21st. Batman Day, if you guys don't know, is it's a day entirely dedicated to just deals on Batman comic books at your local comic book store. A lot of things that are going to be there's going to be all of it's on dc.com/Batman. God, I thought this was the link. Okay. This is still not the link. Okay. Anyway, Batman-news.com has all of it. There's going to be all kinds of experiences at various comic book stores. Basically, look up your comic book store or go there and ask them what they have planned for Batman Day for September 21st. But September 21st is DC's Batman Day. That's coming up pretty quick here. So can't wait to see what's going on. All right. We've teased it. I'm tired of putting it off. Let's talk Matt Reeves, Batman, and Penguin. We got lots to go. So first and foremost, if you've been holding out for an appearance from Robert Pattinson in the Penguin, it's not coming.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I think eventually he just said like he's not.
Matt Reeves is like, no. It's it's the same reason why Doctor Strange wasn't in WandaVision, because then it stops being about Wanda and Vision. It becomes about Doctor Strange. I think he'll be mentioned. I think he'll be a presence in the atmosphere, but I don't think but yeah, we figured he probably wasn't going to be there.
I was kind of like, I figured he might appear, but at the same time, you're right. It makes sense. Especially, am I jumping ahead if I say like the time frame thing that they've mentioned?
No, it's fine. We're going to cover it.
Yeah.
I mean,
the fact that they're saying it's obvious the Penguin show happens really soon, really quickly after the first movie ends. And then they're saying the second movie happens a week after the end of the Penguin, which means that the Penguin show itself is not this is months.
Yes.
It could be days. It could be a week. So it would make sense that a week of them going through this, Batman doesn't show up to get in their way.
Exactly. This is the post that DC Film News, our friends at DC Film News, put up in a quote from an interview that Matt Reeves gave with some information with Collider and Total Film, that the Batman 2 takes place a week after the conclusion of the Penguin during the winter. Because as we remember, the Batman happens starts on Halloween, ends on Election Day. So over the course of 3 weeks, give or take. The Penguin story, according to this thing, plays out over the next weeks that take you toward the end of the year. We don't play Christmas or New Year's, but we're getting there.
Okay.
So the Batman, again, as we've predicted, as a lot of people have predicted, is taking place over the course of the wintertime. But it looks like, again, we are playing in a very small pocket of time between 2 movies and this show. we're looking at the course of maybe 8 weeks of actual time in universe. So I think everyone should remember, like we saw a lot of growth in Batman in the first movie. We're not going to see a lot more between the two. Like there's not going to be a huge, like his tech's not going to suddenly get that much bigger because it's only been a few weeks. There hasn't been a lot of time.
Depending on what happens in the second movie. It's just saying it starts a week after the end of the Penguin.
Right, but that means it's only been a few weeks since the end of the first movie. It's only been at most a month since the end of the first movie.
But if they do a montage.
Gonna do a montage. I need to get that sound effect in here. Montage.
You know, but I mean, like, it starts there. Doesn't mean, you know, the other Batman, the first of the Batman, yeah, that was like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. Maybe I don't know. We'll see. But I think that does answer some things we've asked ourselves.
Well, and he does say here, we don't play Christmas or New Year's, but we're getting there. So it sounds to me like the Batman Part 2 ends before Christmas. So we're not even getting to, we're only going a couple of more weeks. So by the end of this overall trilogy or whatever that Matt Reeves is building, in the grand scheme of things, we may only cover like 3 months worth of time. Yeah. Maybe 6.
Yeah, makes sense.
Which has me again, because we've been speculating over what, you know, reading like Dark Victory and the year ones and all that. It's like, man, what does he have planned? And that's a great question because he actually had something to say about that, Matt. I set up my own. I'm getting so
great.
good. Oh man,
knocking it down, buddy.
In that same interview with Total Film, Matt Reeves, on the villain for the Batman 2, said, "I want the emotional part of the story to be Robert Pattinson's, to be Bruce and Batman's. I'm excited by the antagonist of the next movie, but I don't want Batman's arc to step back to allow space for another group of characters." So Matt Reeves is very much keeping in mind the fact that what made the Batman so good was that we are seeing a story and character arc with the characters of Batman and Bruce Wayne. And he says, I am not sacrificing that just to plug DC filler in here.
Maybe Natasha Leggero is the villain of the next movie.
Hey, it was on my Instagram feed. Okay, I can't help it. All right. Great comedian, by the way, Natasha Leggero. Go see her if you have a chance.
Leggero, I'm sorry.
She's
sorry.
Very, very
Mike
funny.
didn't crop his screen cap so you could see the following.
Guys, it was the middle of the night. It was the middle of the night.
I'm just ribbing you.
I know. But so that also goes in to say there was again in that interview he was giving with Collider, he has confirmed that he has not finished the script yet. So like we know they're going into production next year. We know production starts, I think, in the spring next year is what was said, early next year. But it sounds to me like the bones are there. It's just like they haven't put the final stamp on it. But man, what are you thinking about? I've dumped a lot of information on you and everybody here. What are you thinking? What are you feeling?
I'm really curious to see, like, it sounds weird to say it this way, but like, this just makes me want to know what the third film is, because you've kind of, if that's the time frame that the first one takes place in 2 weeks, we've got a couple weeks with the Penguin, and now you have a couple weeks after, like, okay, that means, like you said, there's not going to be a lot of change in his costume and a lot of the tech, blah, 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 blah. So
we're basically picking up where we left off almost.
So that's where, okay, so then you've got this idea what he's doing. I'm going to assume that since he didn't say who the villain is of the second film, it's a new character.
I don't think like one we haven't seen before.
One we haven't seen before. Not that he's created one, but like the Penguin may not be the main villain of the second film.
Well, and we'll talk some more about that in a little bit here too. But you know, he did comment also that his goal, he said that DC and Batman lore are filled with great fantastical characters, and his goal is to find a way to fit some of those in a way that makes sense, which is kind of what Chris Nolan did. You know, he did a version of Ra's al Ghul, he did a version of Bane. The only one that was really pretty much like the character was the Joker. You know, so it you know, even the Riddler that we got in the Batman was, what would the Riddler look like in this world? It wasn't forcing the Riddler into, it wasn't forcing comic book stuff into a world, or it was, how would what would the Riddler look like if he existed in this world? Like, how would that develop? So you know, I know a lot of people's bets right now are on either Hush or Mr. Freeze. Those are the two that seem to be coming up a lot. Mr. Hush is the only one that has been even the tiniest bit set up for.
Yeah.
Mr. Freeze, there's nothing. There is nothing whatsoever to even suggest Mr. Freeze is any. That's more of, I just want to see it. But you know, it's, you know, we know that like there are characters Matt Reeves has been looking at, like Clayface. Maybe that was, now that we've seen him in Cape Crusader, maybe that's what that rumbling was about. I don't know. My money's on Hush, but nothing would shock me at this. Well, I mean, let me phrase that. It wouldn't shock me to find out it's something completely out of left field.
Yeah. I'm just, this is where I go. Maybe it's the cosplayer in me. I have no idea. Of like, traditionally speaking, when it comes to these characters and these things, they change the costume per movie so you can sell new toys.
Yeah.
The only time they did not do that was between The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, is that he did not change his costume at all. You added the bat wing hover, whatever, but his costume is exactly the same.
Yeah.
Given the short time frame, I'm really curious to see what they do to the suit.
I am too, especially because like the way this Batman seems to operate, it's a very minimalist Batman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is a minimalist Batman. This is a Batman who is building things as he needs them to fit his circumstance. That's why like the gadget we saw him use the most was his grappling gun.
Yeah.
Like, that's why that was his, because when you're Batman in this world, you need that's you got to get out of there quick. So I'm curious what's going to happen with the Batmobile. I'm curious if he's going to like start to streamline his suit. I don't know. It's, again, the only other DC villains we've had any Easter eggs laid for at this point are Hush and maybe Bane.
Yeah.
You know, and then again, the Bane thing is us drawing some weird dotted lines. Hush is the only, and Joker, but but even Matt Reeves has said Joker's not the villain of part 2. Joker's just that was just their way of saying, he's out there. I don't know, and it's honestly really refreshing. I love that the mystery that has surrounded. It's nice to have this for a change, you know? It's nice to not know what's coming.
Well, and the only other thing I could say, honestly, if memory serves, the DA is killed in that movie.
Harvey Dent. There is room for Harvey Dent.
We have a new assistant district attorney. Here's Harvey Dent.
And it's
now I don't know if you're gonna fast track Two-Face.
Well, I don't know, because we know, and you know, we're not really talking about Joker this week much. There's nothing really to talk about other than just we've known for a while Harvey Dent is a character in Joker 2. Harvey Dent is the DA trying to basically convict Joker and give him the death penalty in Joker Part 2.
Oh, so that he'll die at the end, just like
I don't know. Who knows? Who cares? I'll see it when it comes out. But I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I've been saying that since the first one. Like, you killed off the DA. There is now a window of opportunity for Michael Shannon to come in and play Harvey Dent. Make it happen, Matt Reeves. I know you're listening to the show, buddy. You get my texts. So there are lots of, but again, I think Two-Face is too obvious. I don't think you plant that Hush seed in the first one and talk about the emotional journey of Batman and Bruce Wayne specifically if you're not throwing Hush at me in some way. You know what I mean? It also just based on the world we're playing in, talking about the idea of corruption in the Wayne family and things like that. To me, it's almost too interesting not to do.
Yeah.
So, to get to your comment about Colin Farrell, though, I mean, Colin Farrell did say in a recent interview with Variety that he's not done playing the Penguin, but he's like, I've been wearing this makeup and suit for the better part of like 5 years.
Yeah.
Kind of don't want to do it again for a little bit. So he said, he's like, I don't know. He's like, I loved it, but it got in me a little bit. By the end of it, I was bitching and moaning to anyone who would listen to me that I fucking wanted to be finished. I tried to remind them that I had a grumpy gratitude. I was still grateful and still honored. I grew up watching Burgess Meredith and then Danny DeVito. So being part of the lineage of that storytelling, I did feel privileged, but by the end of it,
yeah,
he just kind of goes on. It's the same thing we've heard from like when Daniel Craig was making the James Bond movies. He's like, these movies are a lot, guys.
Yeah.
And Colin Farrell has, to the degree that he is committed to this role, both in makeup and as an actor, as someone who is like the father of a son with very severe mental health needs, like he's a guy he needs a break from doing a fucked up character.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. And, again, I think that's like we're kind of assuming or guessing at is that whatever villain is in this one, we haven't seen him yet. And doesn't mean the Penguin won't be in a scene or two. It wasn't like he was in a ton of the first movie.
No. The Penguin is a great character, but he's not the cornerstone villain of your franchise. He's just not.
He's the guy you walk into his club, he gives you information, you go do your thing. You might see him later.
The Penguin's had some great story arcs, but the Penguin is always his best when he's the shady nightclub owning arms dealer with a taste for the fine life. I mean, one of the reasons that Minnie Driver's version of the Penguin was so great in Cape Crusader was because, like, what if the Penguin was competent? Yeah. Like, what if the Penguin was good at it? So this is what happens when the Penguin is not necessarily bad at it, but like, the Penguin we all know and love is the guy who failed his way to success. You know what I mean? He failed his way upstairs. So that's you don't put him as the cornerstone as the thing that as the constant through line. Like, he's there and you can bring him back if you need Colin Farrell for like a day or something. But like, okay, one movie and a whole series, let the guy, it's an Oscar nominee. Let him go do some other shit. It's
like what they did with Scarecrow in the Nolan stuff. Like he's in every single one of the movies. He just doesn't have a big role.
God, they could have done it, man. That's now Cillian Murphy's Scarecrow is a villain you can use as a cornerstone for your universe if you just what we could have had, Matthew. And that is pretty much going to do it for all the big DC Batman news that we have. What man? Oof. What a lot. Yeah. What a lot. We hope you guys got something out of this. We hope that you feel up to date and informed now. And again, to give you guys just a heads up on what's coming, like next week is going to be is the Penguin. So to let you guys know, we record, it's now almost 12:30 on the East Coast here when we're wrapping this up. So if this goes up late today, now you know why, because I had 4 hours to edit it. I'm going to slap an intro and an outro on it and throw it on YouTube. That's the end of it. But if there's anything we missed, let us know down in the comments. But yeah, starting next week, we are going to be, so the Penguin, to let you guys know, the Penguin debuts on Max and HBO next Thursday, September 19th. We are going to get up in the morning, review it, and that will be our episode for next week. It goes up when it goes up. It depends on when we have time to watch it. And I have a show that night I got to get ready for. So but it will be up next Friday. Going forward, then the show will release on Sundays. So Sunday, the 22nd, HBO is going to re-air the premiere. And then starting the following Sunday, the 29th, is when new episodes of The Penguin will drop. We will drop our The Penguin reviews on Monday. I work from home on Mondays. Matt records from his office. We will get up Monday morning. We will record our reviews. They will not go on the podcast feed. They will go on the YouTube channel. Our premiere episode review will go on the podcast feed. Our season 1 review will go on the podcast feed. But if you want to enjoy the episode by episode reviews, those are going to live on YouTube on their own playlist, separate from the podcast. So look for that for next week, and then look for that in the coming Mondays following after the 29th. And I think that's all the important stuff, Matthew. Did I miss anything?
Not that I'm aware of. I
don't think so. Let me ask the 55% of people that aren't subscribed to our YouTube channel what you guys think. Because at this point, if you still haven't subscribed, I mean, like maybe Matt will dance. I don't know. He could. There you go. That's your dance. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of We Are the Batman. We are planning another Q&A episode coming up in October, hopefully. So as always, leave your questions down in the comments. Head on over and follow us on social media at WATB Pod. You can find me on social media at Mr. Mike Shea.
You can find me on Twitter at Mr. J Ninja.
That is going to do it for this episode of We Are the Batman. We'll see you guys again next time. Same bad time, same bad podcast channel.